Hello, everyone. Glad y'all can join us tonight. We got to talk about a bunch of different topics and different cases out there. Everything from, unfortunately, or how you look at it, the tragedy of finding Kiely Rodney's body and you know, such a loss to her community and to the families that most certainly we have to think about them, put them in our thoughts and prayers. But we'll be discussing some of the future issues that will be coming up from that case. We'll be talking a little bit about Dylan Rounds. We'll also be looking at any of the recent information about Libby and Abby and Elizabeth and Lyric also. But as we go through these cases, and as always, a little bit of house cleaning. Let's not use any names for suspects or persons of interest on any of the cases, as we don't want to influence anyone's opinions about possible tips or leads, because all of these cases are currently still open. Even the one with Kiely and Rodney, uh, uh, that with her case is still not known. Um, all of the possibilities of manner of death, toxicology reports, all of that's going to take a while, and there'll be a lot of interviews and investigation that's going to be taken and ongoing for the next several weeks on that case. And at how much information will law enforcement release? How much will the families release? That still is not clear and may not ever be totally clear. It has a lot to do with as the investigation progresses and what law enforcement wants to release and what the family wants to release. But with that being said, we'll get into it. Um, uh, as always, introduction. I'm Steve, and this is Mrs. Steve. I'm retired law enforcement, had 20 years of service, worked in all areas from the jail, road to investigations. I also had extensive training in a lot of different uh, disciplines in law enforcement. I was a SWAT team entry leader, counter sniper, uh, became a state certified crime scene tech, which helped me immensely in my investigative career, processing all different types of crime from just minor thefts all the way up to homicides. I'm now retired and decided to come back into the investigative and the ambassador um, uh, type of trying to, as I enter into the web sleuth community, of being that ambassador that can share some of my law enforcement experiences and thought processes, so that um, this average web sleuth can understand how we look at stuff, and if it helps uh, and has an impact on any family or anyone out there that may solve a case, so much the better. Because that's all we want to do, is have some type of great impact, locate some of these missing persons or some of these unsolved cases, and so that's what we want to do. But this is Kylie Rodney, and unfortunately, like I said, she was found and she was in her vehicle, and it was in this area of, as law enforcement referred to it, that was ground zero, and they stayed there for a number of days and conducted, extensive and intensive ground searches, water searches, but it all came to naught for the fact that they missed, which was quite surprising to me, that they missed the vehicle within just a few hundred feet of where the party was. And what would be the answer to that? Of course, is the dive teams and the training that is given to these government um, agencies and the support personnel that as a volunteer dive teams that came out. Were they full time rescue and recovery teams? We don't know all that information yet. We don't know the what type of technologies they were using to attempt to locate the vehicles. But most certainly, whoever reached out, or either way, either it was Adventures with a Purpose when they reached law enforcement, or it was the other way, that the information shared thankfully led to the discovery and closure of this case. And we'll be discussing some of that and what some of the what that will lead to as far as the training of these recovery and rescue teams, so that they will be able to address these issues in future cases. Because right now, like I said, I always thought that there was a lot of interest in that cove, and that's how come when I made the initial one of my initial contents about the search for Kiely, I created this slide. It was a couple of pictures of the rescue or recovery efforts and search efforts in the particular cove, Alder Creek branch of Prosser Lake. That the images that I captured showed these search teams. They had sonar, they had boats, they had dive team, and if you look at this area on your screen, you can see where I draw the arrows showing where each of these pictures was taken. And I always felt that they were focused in this area. That's why I created this. But I never thought that, I thought it had been cleared and that they were looking for something smaller, such as either Kiely herself or were looking for phones, clothing, shoes, things of that nature, because they were talking about didn't want to disturb the lake bottom that would possibly create a silt cloud that could cover some evidence. Well, you're not going to cover a car. And for whatever reason, like I said, I felt at the time that they didn't miss the car, but most certainly a lot of people were wrong on that. But as it's progressed, we have to understand also that there were some witnesses from the campground that witnessed people coming to the party. They witnessed people leaving the party. They were camped just a few hundred feet from where her car eventually was found. And they missed the impact. They missed whatever happened when that vehicle left and went into the water, and which is quite strange. But, people may have, in the middle of the night with no lights and what was the circumstances of how her vehicle was introduced into the water, that will all come to pass whenever the investigation progresses. And is it suspicious or not? We don't currently know. We don't know what the impact speed. They'll check all the electronics on the vehicle and see if there's any type of tracking or data that's collected within the vehicle that would indicate possible speed or braking of whatever is in the brain of that vehicle and whatever that technology may be. But like I said, law enforcement totally focused on this area for an extended period of time. They felt strongly that there was, they said that cell data said it was somewhere between land and water. But like I said, they missed everything, and hopefully with better training and bringing in professionals that do this all the time, such as, and I'll give credit to Adventures with a Purpose. They're absolutely, their resume speaks volumes about how professional they are and how good they are at doing what they do. And they most certainly will be able to go in and assist agencies in their training. And the training process, it's not just so simple that law enforcement will say, okay, anyone can come in and teach a course of how to set up the sonar equipment. The peace officer standards and training, especially here in Georgia, I would probably surmise it's across the board, across the country, is that lesson plans have to be drawn up. Whatever that lesson plan says, that there, that a certain standard of training has to be used, and it has to be presented by certain people of certain established standards and knowledge about certain. Thank you, Laura.
That's sweet.
Absolutely correct. Love and light to Kiely and her family, and not enough can be, the loss of such a brilliant child. I can't imagine. I mean, how could you? Anyone imagine the loss of such a gift that she was, and and is for the people that knew her during her brief time on with us. But as the training progresses and as these new programs come in, because law enforcement will look back on this and say, how can we improve? And they have to improve. You know, building confidence that when you call law enforcement that they'll put every effort, because I think it's been stated that they put 20,000 man hours into the search, and we're only a few hundred feet from her at any given time during the first 2 weeks, and which is, you know, is not a good image. And how do we address that? And that is that we have to get the proper equipment, the proper training, and proper individuals on scene, on site as soon as possible, and let them conduct these investigations and do these grid searches. I saw the same thing that as we transition from the old school of how we process crime scenes to how crime scenes are now processed, as you can see on TV with CSI. And it seems to be that our search and rescues is about to enter that same phase that, you know, most certainly is 30 years after. But now that they're at this point and we've had such advances in sonar and equipment that can be used, that they're going to have to go through this. Thank you. Glad Venture with Purpose could bring some resolution to Kiely's family. Glad there are specialists out there willing to help for free, and glad those police asked for help. Hope you will give some insight on info released today on murder sheets. I haven't seen all the information on murder sheets yet, but I will look at that and get back with you. And I'm going to probably sometime in the next week or two go in and do a review of all the murder sheets releases and what impact they've had on the case and what possibility the future holds for some of this information, which if what I saw is true, it is extremely will have a great impact on where that case goes. But like I said, as the training improves and everything, so that law enforcement can get back and have confidence as a community that they're trained, they're highly professional, and they're able to recover and do what needs to be done. Law enforcement in general is a land-based, you know, the department I work for, we didn't have divers. We had some guys that went to diving, and it's a very rigorous training. And I think it was a 2-week program to learn how to be a licensed diver, open water, because there's different types of divers and different classifications, from my understanding. I didn't go, but I knew a couple of our guys that did, but they never were part of the recovery or rescue. All our recoveries that we did from water was done old school. You know, we did drag chains, and we just drug areas and with big metal hooks and things, and made quite a few recoveries, and far more than I ever wanted to participate in. But my boss made sure that there was always a law enforcement officer on scene from the time that if there was someone in the water, we never left that water side. As long as there was a family member there, law enforcement presence was there. We always had a liaison that sat there and was available for the family and have contact. Was that the case here? I don't know. Hopefully so. But and also we have to remember that the lake level was dropping, and so that I believe I saw in one of the law enforcement briefings that the Prosser Lake had dropped down 3 or 4 feet, which 3 or 4 feet doesn't mean a lot unless you're really familiar with lake waters. That on a bluff wall that is vertical 3 or 4 feet is exactly what it is at 3 or 4 feet. But on shoreline that has a gradual slope, 3 or 4 feet of water coming down can be 30, 50, 75 feet of exposed embankment. And so how far that when law enforcement and night of the party, how close was the water level to the shoreline? It has changed we'll know eventually because they're going to be pulling up those images from satellite and from drone footage, because there's some great YouTubers went out there and did some drone footage throughout the search, and so we'll be able to see how far that shoreline draws back. I saw on the mob crew where he was showing one of the drone operators that flew, I mean, almost straight over where the car was and never realized it. And like I said, so many searchers did the same thing, and it's heartbreaking. But one of the things as I was watching Adventures with a Purpose today, they were talking about some of the technologies they were using. They were talking about live scope. I'm a fisherman. I go fishing. Luckily I've been I married the perfect woman that allows me to fish a lot, and so and I fished my whole life. I was raised on rivers and lakes, but the technologies that has come along in the last few years is absolutely amazing. And Adventure for a Purpose, they stated they was using live scope, which is a technology now that is absolutely amazing. It's made by Garmin, and you have several different companies out there that have competing different types of sonar. You got the Garmin, Low Ranch, Humminbird in the fishing industry is ones that freshwater we're most familiar with, that are affordable for budget fishermen, although some of these technologies is thousands of dollars. But for the ones that really take that hobby seriously, they pay that kind of money. I haven't reached out and done that yet. This is Steve. Once my grandson gets a certain age, I most certainly will, but right now I don't. But the technologies, and like I said, the training that's going to come along will have an impact on it. And I'm just so glad that Adventures with a Purpose were able to step forward, and that they looked in an area that was dead center almost from these images of a blow up that were from the
Shoot. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, from where
My Google machine again.
From where my two images are from a earlier slide I had created last week, but where that car was is dead center of those two searches that they were conducting at the time those pictures were taken, and so they most certainly, were in the right area, and they had data that was, correct, that they should have been in those areas. And sadly, they missed them. But once again, we have to look at what you had to work with. And as I discussed in the previous video, that when you're looking for something that may be a possibility of what a car looks like underwater, that it may be overturned. And I had mentioned that, and when I was talking and saying that if anyone had a boat and was looking for a vehicle, don't just have in your mind's eye what a vehicle looks like, because overturned, it looks totally different. And as you can see on the right-hand side of Kiely's car, this is the image that was recovered by Adventures with a Purpose. And so as you can see, it most certainly doesn't look like anything like a car. It just has a straight edge to it. And now they may have, during that stream, they may have a better image of it. This is just the image I captured from it. And so these men right here, they deserve everything they will ever, they've made a name for themselves. In the 3 years, I think I saw where someone had mentioned that they've made 24 recoveries in 3 years. That's legend. They have my admiration forever. I mean, that is something that you can go out there and have an impact upon all these families, that some of these cases have been where people have been missing for years. And these men have decided that they put themselves and their life on the line, because there is nothing more hostile than being in a hostile environment in water. You can't breathe water. These men, they go down there in these depths and they look, and that takes a great amount of courage, and I admire them for what they do. And we should all thank them, and go out, look at their channel, support the channel, do whatever you can for them. And because, like I say, these men are legend. But also, after we leave this case, and there's other things to discuss, but just think of Kiely's family, and keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And like I said, it's just a sad tragedy all the way around that such a thing would happen to such a young child, and they had such a bright future. Now I'll let Mrs. Steve talk about Cyclops for a moment.
All right. So Cyclops is, as we all know, a work in progress. The states on the left side of the screen are the ones that are officially on the website and active. I've got another one, probably 98% complete. It should be up in the next couple of days. And then we've got a couple more that are coming. So slowly but surely we're getting there. So if you see something wonky, I love that word, please send Steve an email to steve@truecrimeweb.com, and I'll clean it up, change it, delete it, whatever needs to happen. I'll make sure it gets done. And thank you to all of those folks that have graciously volunteered their time to help make this project come alive. We're getting views on the website daily, and people are going to Cyclops, whether it's y'all or somebody else, but it's there. Let me know if I need to change anything, do anything, whatever. And thank you, and look for more states to come online this week.
And also, if anybody that's out there that's in a state that they want to work that's not listed, or even in these states, you can go in there and look at and update. If you find someone that has been found, let us know. And there are thousands of missing persons of children out there.
Yes.
Nebraska had 500, and
it was monumental what Nebraska has in missing kids. I can't even describe it. I mean, I was devastated. I mean, it took me 5 days to do Nebraska.
Yeah.
There's a lot of photos that are not there. I can't find photos of these kids that are listed as missing.
If you do check and you do find a photo of a child that's on our list,
please let me know.
Send us the link, send us the photo, and we'll check it out and attach it. And but like I said, we can't thank our volunteers enough for what they've done, because we can bring so much more focused attention just to the children, which myself and Mrs. Steve, we've decided this are what we want to focus on, is trying to get the words out on these most vulnerable class of people and individuals, which is our children. That there's so many predators out there, and they're at the mercy of the world, and so we trying to do everything we can to bring attention to them.
Yeah. And Alicia says that she's emailed you about Indiana. Do we have it?
I don't know. I have to check.
I don't recall, Alicia, it being in there.
It may be in spam or something.
Yeah,
I'll go
would you
check.
mind bopping another one to steve@truecrimeweb.com, and I'll be on the lookout for it while we're on tonight.
Yep.
What is the Cyclops website address? Thank you so much for asking that, John Moore. It is truecrimeweb.com, and it's actually in the header. The little navigation bar, it gives you a breakdown of what Cyclops is, and then all the zones are broken out to the right. So make sure that when you go into the zones, you're looking for your states that you're interested in or just want to look for. But that was the only way I could get the maps to work with the website and have enough room to add. So there you go. So thanks so much. Thanks, Alicia.
All right. Thank you. We're going to move on now. Dylan Rounds, of course, is still missing. The family has done some another news briefing, and there's some data out there on him today that they're wanting a change of investigations, lead lead investigators on this. And most certainly, hopefully, law enforcement, someone will make a decision of what information and who they want to lead it, and make this family and make every effort to try to find him. If you have any information on them or on Dylan, most certainly contact these phone numbers and let them know whatever type of tips or leads you have. And then also on Abby and Libby, here's the contact information. There was some information dropped in the last day or two about from murder sheets about some searches that Keegan Klein did in the area of Delphi during that day that they came up missing. How true it is, I haven't seen all the information yet, but most certainly I'm going to look into it and see what all that data is and how supported it is and what context it is, and create some content on it to make sure that everything is accurate. And like I said, I just glanced at a few things today because we are so we got so many different avenues that we're looking down right now and making contact with certain families as we progress towards our other goals. And then also, if you have any information on the Evansdale murders of Elizabeth and Lyric, most certainly if you have any tips or anything, contact and pass that along to law enforcement so we can have an impact on that. And I have both Delphi and Evansdale on my list of places to go this fall. Just a matter of logistics and getting everything prepared and getting all my equipment here, and so that I can move forward and start getting on the road and go up through there and check some other. And I've got another family I've been contacted. I've got two other families from Indiana that's contacted me that wants me to stop in and talk to them and look at some of their families lost. And so I will be doing that also. I won't at this time release those names. At some point, we will discuss who they are and do bring some focus to their loved ones and the unsolved cases that surround their lost and missing loved ones. But anyway, let's see, what else is there? That's it. So
Alicia, check your email for me and make sure you got my response. And then give me a yes or no in the comments, if you would, please.
All righty. So anyway,
all right, we ready for questions?
We are.
All right.
I'm just going to flash through each of these as we go. So it's anytime during the conversation, or I may be on one tip line. Don't pay attention. You can talk about just about any topic you want to tonight.
Just watch out for names.
Yes, watch out for names. Don't need names or initials.
Okay. Let's see here. SP74 is going to start us off tonight with, according to guys of AWP, most of the search and rescue teams don't know how to read sonar. That's AWP's expertise.
And you can't argue that. I mean, I don't know in law enforcement now. We have a lake, a major reservoir in our county, and so in our, everybody at our department, probably half of them have bass boats and had all the top of the lines equipment over my whole career, and it just depends, I guess, of certain departments and what the hobbies within that region is. And some of our guys could probably operate these systems just as good as anybody else. But now that the newer, sonars coming out there and what has been brought into their search rescue teams, I agree with probably 90-something% of these officers and some of these rescue teams don't have the most recent and high-end equipment, because it's not,
it ain't cheap.
No, it's not cheap at all. It's extremely expensive. And at some point, I'm going to have to make that dive myself, and been thinking about more so that I need to, just for the good of the community, that every year we have lost loved ones that drowned in our in our lake systems and our river systems, and if there's a way I could have an impact and maybe go out and help find those, I most certainly, I just had never, you know, realized how much of an impact that we as individual citizens can have. Working on it from law enforcement, you know, we were going out there and we spend 3 or 4 days at a time sometime on these searches. You know, we did everything we could. And, you know, back then, you know, the citizens and civilians weren't really involved other than the volunteers that were part of a structured search team and had search training. Does that need to change? Absolutely. There's a lot of people out there that want to help, and law enforcement slowly but surely coming to that realization that you better embrace it, because that's where the future is, and they can save a lot of heartache.
All right. And Molly, it's so dark in that area. It would be so easy, stone cold sober, to go into that water, and the water is cold. A major shock to the system, in addition to airbags, etc., potentially.
And in my career, I saw where people would have an accident, be, you know, just run off the side of the road. And I know at least 2 cases where people ran off the side of the road and sober and were stunned and stepped off into a creek and drowned. And sadly, the vehicle never touched the water. It's just that they were received some type of injury, and then when they hit the water, they drowned. And it's like I say, there's so many weird things out there that can happen.
In Savannah, yes, thank the Lord for AWP and their expertise.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I've got some newfound heroes.
Yeah, you do. Let's see here. Also, okay, so there must be another one up here. Did I miss one? Yes, I did. Molly, inexpensive tools are available on Amazon or similar places to keep in your glove box that will break out glass, cut seat belts, and airbags, etc., so you can get out from underwater.
Yes, and I think even on the AWP's website, they have that tool, or you can get it on Amazon. And like I said, it's the focus of what will be learned on so many different levels about what our children are exposed to, some of these parties and some of these predators, and just what alcohol and drugs can do. That, you know, there's going to be a lot of different ways to look at this case and be able to talk to our children about the dangers of all of this.
All right, and this is interesting. This is also from Molly. Also, the headrest of most cars for the last 20 years are designed to be pulled out easily, and the tips to be used to break glass in water fire situations.
I can tell you what's going to break mine.
Yeah, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, but yes, the headrest will work.
But you'll still do it.
I may lose some hearing from the gunfire, but I'll bust a window out.
Oh yeah, no worries there. All right, Indian paintbrush. I'm thinking AWP could train LE wherever their current case is, so they can still travel and do what they do.
And I'm sure they may do that, but law enforcement, like I said, they're going to have to come up with some lesson plans to coincide with that, so that they can get because there's certain amount of hours of required training per year, and law enforcement to call in the personnel from the road and to pay them to receive that training. It has to meet a certain standard, and that's just the government's way of slowing down the system. But most certainly, I'm sure that AWP will do everything they can to assist law enforcement, and as even these manufacturers of these sonar units, they'll be doing the same. They'll have the professionals that will work with law enforcement, and they'll design a proper program that will make sure that these people are qualified and understand how this equipment works.
All right. And Molly, at Steve, that would be great to have a review of the material for murder sheets. Did not listen yet. The title alone makes me very curious.
I hadn't seen it yet. Like I said, I've only seen some content mentioned, and I saw a picture of a service station that is reported that law enforcement looked it up, or that Keegan looked it up, and law enforcement and FBI was made aware of, and there was a loss of data. How true all that is, I don't know. But
I'll give you something to do.
yeah, give me something to do.
We need to keep him busy. All right, and this is from Digital. Looks like it would make more sense for states to have highly trained, fully equipped teams that could be deployed rather than locals trying to do everything.
And they do have on certain things, but they still fail. There's no guarantee because you know that even with the best trained that they will find. Although AWP, they most certainly they proved that when they hit the water and they go out there and they have a structured pattern of search grid. And like I said, that's the same way that crime scenes have evolved. These search teams are going to evolve that way. And it does make sense that state agencies would have these highly trained units. And did they use them? I don't know. But, as everything's evaluated and law enforcement goes back and the state agencies go in and whatever the powers that be that look at this, they're going to analyze and say, how can we improve? And that's exactly what they need to do. They need to suck up their pride and not be defensive and say, yep, we failed there. And how can we make things better? It's just whether or not they will accept that, okay, this is where we need to make gains, and hopefully they will do so.
All right. And Mills SD shore was 21 feet.
I'd take, you're talking about in length or of exposed from the end of the ramp, maybe, I don't know. But yes, like I said, it depends on slope of how much shoreline would be exposed on the water drop. And but all of that will most certainly be in the final reports from day one to day of discovery.
I'm not sure about this one.
Oh, which one? Well, I don't have a problem with it.
All right. And then Molly talks about, I didn't want to skip anybody. Google Maps right now has maps from 2017. The water is much higher in those photos than it is now.
Yeah. But yeah, you can bring that up.
Okay, yeah. And then Jason, a missing person is not content. They're not a TV show or a whodunit with a twist ending. Their friends and family are not characters in a melodrama.
And I absolutely agree. But it's just like the journalism's and the way the journalistic path has gone is just like with news. You cannot turn on a news program of any major TV show and not see what is going on in the lives of individuals. And with responsible YouTube creators that do it responsibly and don't create drama and don't disrespect the families, kudos to you. That's exactly what you should do. But, but attacking families and creating certain things, but being responsible journalist is a great responsibility, and hopefully as we progress that humanity and our feelings within certain YouTube people, that as you create content, be responsible and be respectful of these families, because you wouldn't want anything less than that for you and your family.
All right. And Olivia, many prayers for Kiely's family.
Absolutely.
And 4, AWP, do what they do for free. Donations are a must.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, or buts. If you got anything you can do for them, most certainly do for them. Even if it's just going and watching their videos, going and watching the ads on their videos, that means a lot to the YouTube communities, because they will get paid a certain amount. So even if you don't have where you can do certain things, most certainly watch those videos of those of their content and support them in that. Give them thumbs up. Whatever you can do for them, do for them.
All right. And Digital, in the Delphi case, I saw in a middle of night chat. I'm not sure I get that.
I have to check that out. I haven't seen.
All right. And took care of Alicia. Let's see here. And True Crime with Shannon just gave me heart palpitations. Yes, there are so many. The Western states, it is numbers that will blow your mind.
Yes. I don't know what it is. Arizona's the same way. There's so many missing persons of all ages, even more,
Now, Molly says Missouri has a lot.
Okay. All right.
Y'all are getting me, man. All right. Indian paintbrush. How do you find research missing person cases? Do you have to go to local police?
You can go online and type in a county or state and say, and just do your research on it.
Go to missingkids.org.
Oh yeah. And there's a lot of great search engines out there. And that's one of the reasons we did Cyclops is that when we went in trying to find the classification or group of individuals we wanted to work on, which was the kids, that when you go into some of them, they're not broken down by age.
Right.
That you go in there and it's just case by case, and one individual will be 90, one of them will be 60, and then you might see a teenager or you might see a 4-year-old, and it was just scattered. And so we tried to come up with a system, whereas we focused just on teens and younger.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Molly at Steve, I'm concerned that Dylan Rounds will be similar to Susan Powell case in Utah. She's still never been found. Just so many mines, so much area.
And that's true. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, but if they have, hopefully at some point they'll have the proper person in custody and they will be able to apply the proper pressure and they'll identify and locate Dylan for us.
All right, let's see here. Molly at True Crime Web. When appropriate, can you discuss possible membership or other ways to support the channel? Oh my goodness.
Go ahead.
That's me again. Well,
we're working on it.
We're, that's my comment for everything. We're working on it, but we really are. I've got some cute emojis done. We know we're going to have one level to start, maybe two, but we have to sit down together long enough to discuss it. And I work during the day and he's either fishing or on the phone at night. So we're having some communication gaps, I guess I could say. But we are working on it and it will be coming hopefully sooner rather than later, and we'll let y'all know. And thanks for asking.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know. All right, so let's see. Frank Meister. Hey, Frank. Thursday evening, Marv and I will be live covering a Cyclops 18-year murder cold case out of Indiana. The family will be joining us on panel.
Excellent.
Cool. We'll be ready. At Molly, the sonar pics AWP showed, I couldn't see anything that looked like a car. Maybe tires at one point. Never studied sonar, and it looks complicated to learn. Yeah. She sounds like me.
Yeah. And like I said, as we discussed, that overturned vehicles, even in woods, it doesn't look like a vehicle, that whenever the top may get crushed down some, although I don't believe that happened with this vehicle, from the images I saw it didn't, but still setting into a soft lake bottom and grass and everything else that may be submerged vegetation, that some of these images and what you see at the bottom of the lake can be, almost indiscernible about what a vehicle may look like.
All right. And SP74 regarding Delphi/FBI, it's maddening to learn bad LE officers seem to continue in their jobs with impunity.
I'm telling you. I never, I worked for a man that I watched him fire a lot of people in my career. But now I worked with some idiots too, sadly. That absolutely just threw their career away for making bad decisions. But all in all, the majority of officers really are good men and women, and they take a path to do good. But, sometimes there's a lot of bad apples out there, and I can't take up for them, and I won't protect them. If you're a bad apple, I have absolutely no use for you.
And Dave was late, but he enjoyed his tacos, so we're all tickled for him.
Excellent.
Taco sounds delicious. It is Taco Tuesday, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. And Molly at Steve for Delphi. What approach to release of info would you take? Probably have to hypothesize, but has releasing anything in your past cases been helpful with the public?
I'm sure it has. What would happen is that you have to get with whoever's going to be prosecuting the case, and it has to be a team effort of looking at all the information and asking that DA what is absolutely crucial and critical to the case that we cannot release, and then what information can we release in a timed effort that, okay, if we release this much information right now, what will be the results and where will it lead us, and when can we take the next step, that if this bit of information doesn't work, what's the next level and what information can we release, and do it in that, because you don't want to fire all your bullets at once. Sometimes these in cases may linger on for months, and and sadly, like with Delphi, it's years. But there's a lot of cases out there it's been running far longer, and law enforcement and the prosecutors have kept that information close to their chest and never revealed it and take it to their graves. But most certainly, we've released information over the years. Sometimes it had positive results, sometimes it had no results. And there are cold cases out there that will be cold no matter how much information you release.
All right. And Black Dove, great to see you. Dylan's mom said the key fob was returned Tuesday when all the local cops went to RA's house because KW called with the bogus tip. How many people do you think are involved in Dylan's disappearance?
Careful with the initials. But anyway, there's going to be so many, and law enforcement will be looking at that. All that, was any of that orchestrated, and was it orchestrated for a reason? And if so, they'll get to the bottom of that if they have the investigative response that I hope they will have, because that is an oddity of such a, is that a ruse? And if it is a ruse, why would someone create such a ruse to draw certain people away from certain areas? But law enforcement will be looking into that. If hopefully I'm not giving them too much credit. Hopefully they've done that, and hopefully they're taking the steps to correct whatever mistakes and missteps they made in the beginning.
And Mills, I would like to applaud the police group to embrace outside entities like AWP. No shame bringing in experts. No shame asking for help.
Oh, like I absolutely agree with you. I've been given a superpower. I can look around the room and tell you who the smartest man in the room is, and use that person to the fullest. And typically back here where I'm at, that's the smartest person in the room right here behind me. But when I was working out there in law enforcement, I worked with some really brilliant and got exposed to a lot of different agencies and met some really high-end investigators that I would put against any other team of investigators in the world, because they were truly dedicated and truly intelligent and brilliant men that had one focus, and that was justice.
All right. And Dave says, Steve, is it strange that the Kiely's car was rear end first?
No. Like I said, water currents, air, force of going into the water, how long did the vehicle stay floating as water came into the vehicle? where were the air pockets, what did the tires do to buoyancy, to tilt it over, what was the incline of the slope. There's so many variables when these cars and vehicles go into that watery environment, and the buoyancy is at that point of almost zero gravity, and it's just floating there, and it just takes one tweak one way or the other for the vehicle to go in a certain direction.
And 4, definitely getting one of those keychain tools.
Absolutely.
I've thought that myself. So there. All right. And Ben, thanks for joining. Hi, Steve. In your practical experience, does changing the leadership at the top of an investigation lead to positive outcomes?
I've never been whereas the lead top chain of command was replaced. And I don't know if that has occurred and how often it does occur. Now, I've seen where investigators were replaced, that either they took another avenue of and a new direction in a case, and they took the most knowledgeable person that had been working that lead and put them in place so that they could take the investigation that way. But as far as the bosses and the upper management being changed, I never experienced that. Because everyone has a boss. And if it's the sheriff or the chief of police that's making decisions, then of course it would take someone to either being fired or voted out of office. But most of the majors and the ones that's over certain divisions, such as criminal investigations, I've never experienced any of them being changed in the middle of a critical investigation.
All right. And SB 74, the Carroll County Commissioners offered to Sheriff Leesenby a year ago to fund fresh eyes on the case. I wonder if that has happened.
Hopefully it has, and hopefully they will. I know they sent it off to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations a few years ago for a peer review, and hopefully they will do that again, and look at it and see what advances have been made and what may have been missed in the early stages of the investigations, because mistakes have been made and are always made in investigations. There's not a perfect investigation out there. You can look at all the other cases over the years and see where certain just decisions, just one simple decision to look at this in one way, changed the outcome of that investigation for many, many years.
All right. And digital, AWP said to put the glass breaking tool on your key fob because the dash may be jammed shut or everything may fly out in a crash. Ooh,
oh yeah,
that's smart. Yeah, that's a good one.
And have multiples.
I hadn't even thought about that.
I carry backups for everything.
Yeah,
I don't have just one.
except wives.
Except wives. That's it.
Just to clarify. All right. And Dave, this just goes to show Ellie that the community can help out.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's changing. What the internet and true crime and web sleuth community has given with all the social media platforms out there, that we can have a great impact. It's just that we have to be responsible enough that law enforcement respects us enough to use us. And at some point, at the end of the day, I hope that comes to pass.
Now, Frank Meister, Indiana has over 1,000 of missing person cases. Is that just kids ages 0 to 19?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't got your data yet, I don't think, have we?
No. If it's 1,000, I know why we haven't got it, because it'll take me a year to put that one together.
Yeah, we only want the ones within a certain age range.
The kids.
Yeah.
Whew, and I hope it's not 1,000. All right, let's see here. Dave says YouTube needs to control content more. The Kiely case and the Delphi case and others are getting way out of control.
And like we had a earlier comment about that, it's not drama and these families shouldn't be exposed to it. I absolutely agree. We have to be responsible adults. Don't spread rumors. Don't create stuff that is false or can harm people. And it's a great responsibility, and we should try to do it the best that we can.
Let's see here from Molly. AWP asks only for subscribing, if nothing else. It's free. Helps the channel. If you can, watch the video, give thumbs up, etc.
Absolutely. And that's what
Please
I'm saying.
do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. And True Crime with Shannon, there are so many ways to search for missing people.
There is.
Then there is.
And it's unlimited. It's just up to your imagination. And if you have an interest in looking for senior citizens, do so.
Mm-hmm.
If it's for missing women, do so. If it's for missing minorities of certain, do so. It's just whatever you want to focus on, do it. There's a lot of great channels out there that do that. And we have to admire them and respect them and give them kudos when they do. Just bring focus, because the family appreciates that so much.
All right. And Lady Truth, somebody mentioned a black box on a car. Will they be able to obtain information from Kiely's CRV?
Hopefully they will be. I know that in the insurance industries that there's certain things that you can track vehicles with that is in those brains and boxes that even in law enforcement, that they will obtain the paperwork where they can go in there, look at it. And that's on certain types of crashes, injuries where there might be manslaughter or something involved. But I don't know if this CRV at that year model had that, but hopefully it did. And they'll be able to tell a lot from it.
All right. And Paper Chaser, the Native American community and First Peoples of Canada have an inordinate number of missing and murdered women and have limited resources to work on them. Sadly, that is sad.
Yeah, I saw a Levelhead the other day on his YouTube channel.
That is sad.
He was covering some indigenous native tribe missing persons. It was an interesting show.
Wow. And thank you so much, Mills SD. 72 watching and 11 thumbs up.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
You're hurting.
Remember, you're hurting my heart. Let's see here. Let's see here. True Crime. Molly, at Steve, are you familiar with the Springfield 3 cold case from Springfield, Missouri? Could be interesting to cover. Greene County, Missouri and surrounding is similar to Carroll County, Indiana in the not good way.
I will look up Springfield 3.
Uh-huh. So you got that? Can I keep going?
You can.
All right. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, we had another one that was late because of tacos. Y'all are gonna have to bring your tacos and eat while you're listening. Let's see here. What is Shannon? Shannon had barbecue tofu bowl. I don't know about that, Shannon. All right, let's see here.
Yeah, that's not a big.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't mind, but good for you. I've just never been a tofu fan.
Oh, 4. That's a good idea. Hoping one of those emojis will be a spider. Although let me tell y'all a secret. He started it. I didn't start this. The man is not scared of anything, literally, until it comes to a spider. Then who does he call to kill it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrified of spiders.
That's why we named it True Crime Web. I did that for a reason.
Yeah.
I will have to see if I can find a spider, though. That will be cute. That would be cute. All right, let's see here. Molly, team approach with everyone listening to the team is always a great force. Expertise is always a great thing to get when needed.
Absolutely.
SB 74, Delphi could use some high-end investigators. Yeah, well, you know.
And I mean, they took such great resources from the beginning, and it just has led to this, which, leads to what possibilities. And it's it's disturbing and concerning.
All right. And Derek Farmer. Hey, Derek. Hey, everyone. Hope you're all doing well, working and listening to Mr. and Mrs. Steve. Cold case from 75, possibly tied to Delphi through a certain church group. Interesting case. Sad also.
Hadn't seen that yet. And you'll be talking about almost, 42 years. That would be interesting. And I think I understand where you're going with that, but I'll look at it.
All right. And let's see here. And Daisy. Hey, Daisy. I gave my 16-year-old glass breaker keychain when she started driving. It's bright yellow too, easy to see. Good job. All right. And SB 74 wants to know what the case is and children. So, Derek, if you can type that in. Her name is Laurel Mitchell. I'll write her down. And Mills, looks like the FBI may have screwed up the Delphi case early on. I honestly hope ISP open up for outside help, if anything. Kiely and Gabby's cases show how helpful outside help can be.
And that's something we'll have to, like I said, we don't understand it right now, what data was collected, how it was collected, and what equipment was used, that the FBI or whatever agency went and collected that information. There's going to be a lot of speculation and right now about that, but at some point, hopefully, and it may be within the paperwork that Murder Sheets has, I have no idea, but I look forward to looking at it and give you my opinion one way or the other.
All right. And just Pam, I rewatched Ken Main's first episode on Delphi. He said that Kelsey had reached out to him to help. He offered his help free of charge, and Ellie didn't want it.
And that's, a lot of times it is, that they don't want any high profile for whatever reasons. And is it, sometimes, like I said, law enforcement takes it upon themselves and may have a certain arrogance, and they're just going to have to get over that sometimes, because there's a lot of brilliant people out there in this world that doesn't carry a badge, and sometimes you have to rely upon those people, and why wouldn't you?
All right, and let's see here. 4 at Steve. I am convinced that Ellie has their man in their sights, hopefully just waiting on the prosecuting attorney to get prepared.
I'm hoping that you're 100% correct.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, and Boston Christian, Elwood Forest, Indiana. That might have gone with that Laurel Mitchell, but don't quote me on that. Oh, yeah. Then he's got on here, Laurel Mitchell, beautiful name, beautiful girl. Okay. All right. And Molly, Missouri is running around 300. Sorry, Mississippi. That's okay. I will take whatever. Don't ever cut anybody out just because I'm saying I'm busy.
It's sad, but it is a platform, whereas we can get as many names out there that if you were looking for children and you want to help try to find and see if they're possibly even a predator within certain clusters of missing children, that we have to identify and make those connections.
4 at Steve. Did you get any V-necks in? Oh.
Have you looked at those?
My bad.
Okay.
I'm going to write me a note right here. V-necks 4. I'll have something by Saturday. Hopefully. Okay. And let's see here. Indian paintbrush. How do we explain these missing kids going missing in the thousands? What on earth is going on? I think I've said that for 2 weeks, haven't I?
Oh, yeah. And now,
Well,
as children get a certain age, of course, you're going to have a certain amount of runaways. But we found that a lot of these aren't of the 15, 16, 17, or we're talking about a lot of these children, and there's thousands of them that's from 0 to 12 and 13, which is extremely concerning, which leads you only to that if it's not a family abduction, then it most certainly, if it's non-family and the risk factor of a predator of these thousands of cases, even on that age group, that we most certainly going to have to do something about that.
and Molly, at Steve, any knowledge on Harmony Montgomery and how she was declared dead? I'm guessing enough blood, but no body. Sounds like great forensic work on that apartment building.
I know they took the refrigerator and they took it for a reason, and they replaced it, which I found extremely strange. I'd never seen anything like that. But
say that again. They took the refrigerator.
Yes, and they brought in another one. From what I saw of what at that, and I just didn't understand it. But kudos for the department thinking that far ahead.
That's awkward. Okay. True Crime with Shannon. I really hope the black box gives the investigators some answers as well as the vehicle itself. Let's see here. Let's see. So just Pam's been in her garden. Kit B, we are so lucky you share all your knowledge with us.
It's an honor, and I hope I'm having an impact. That's what we try to do, is try to get everybody as on the page as best we can. And as we move forward with our other outreaches and our other programs that we're trying to move forward, and as our equipment comes in, I'm looking forward to going down and doing some traveling and meeting some of these families and seeing if we can even have a greater impact.
Now you've got some good training
videos
coming up too.
Yeah.
Y'all are going to like this. So that'll be fun for the future. And Dave, mental note, Steve, afraid of spiders.
Yeah. Oh yes, I am. And for whatever reason, and I've been in some places that was crawling with them, and I just don't like them.
And True Crime with Shannon, I still wish they would let Paul Hull help with Delphi.
Oh yes, like I said, there's a lot of brilliant people out there that have a great track record. Look at AWP, their track record, and now what department can turn them down?
Paper Chaser 29. My 44-year-old son has his wife on spider duty too.
Can't hear them. You can't hear them.
Polygraph. Why have the FBI taken on the case and not given to the CAISP? I don't know what that is.
As far as why the FBI may be, if there's federal charges on certain parts of the case, as such, if you're talking about the child porn, that might be what they're trying to do, and they're going to be looking at the federal level. I don't know if that's what you was reaching for there, or I just misinterpreted what the CA is.
The Google machine just did its thing.
Uh-oh.
Let's see here. Dave, as a whole, I think LE have done a good job in Delphi. Always mistakes, but murders are not easy to solve. Some take years.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
I've been there, seen it. And luckily, most of my career that we either had smoking guns, or even on the ones that, it may take reintroducing and sending evidence back to the lab that, how many times do you do it? But if you're forceful enough and get the right people on the job, that they'll look at stuff multiple times and eventually, hopefully, find the one element and one key piece of evidence that will identify the offender. And I was very fortunate in my career and had a very high success rate.
Let's see here. Dave, in my opinion, Delphi was done by a sophisticated serial killer.
Right now, I can't argue against you.
Let's see here. And Molly, Cyclops is such a great project. Just looking in Missouri, there are so many missing cold cases, and you have to dig to figure out anything about them. Yes, ma'am. It is time consuming. I hear you. It is very time consuming.
And we came across, we decided to do this, and we come, just 3 months ago, and didn't realize what the problems were and the areas were, and trying to figure out what was the quickest way and how to get these names out there. And we discussed it and came up with Cyclops. And then when we brought it to our community, the volunteers that stepped forward is absolutely amazing. And we want to thank y'all once again for everything y'all done to allow us to get all these names of these missing children out there in one package. So that people can go out there and look at them.
Mm-hmm. And we've also found clusters that Steve is going to look into at some point. True Crime with Shannon, I did 168 native posters of all ages and families. No coverage. There are so many that don't get reported. And then the numbers climbed with the pandemic started and ended. And that is so sad.
And if y'all get a chance, go check out True Crime with Sunshine. Excellent. What she does every day about creating these posters and getting the word out there. And there's so many that's within her community that are in the same, although I prefer Sunshine here. She's always been very gracious and kind to us. And she's one of my heroes of what she does.
An Indian paintbrush, I can handle spiders, but snakes terrify me. Yeah. That's me. So he's picking up the snakes and I'm killing the spiders.
Yeah. I've probably been bit 20 or 30 times by different kinds of snakes. Never venomous, but all other snakes.
Let's see here. All right. So Dave, he can't figure out a motive in Delphi.
And that's troublesome. Does the LE know the motive, and are they just keeping it close to the chest? But if we knew what the motive was, it most certainly would make it far easier. And right now, no one, you can speculate. And I have 3 or 4. Oh, Lord done. Thank you.
That's sweet. Mr. and Mrs. Steve are welcome to Indiana anytime. We by far here in Indiana are not representative of the super bad group involved in crime.
And I'm telling you, most certainly it's interesting about some crime that's up there. But all communities are that way.
Here's one I missed.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for your hard work. Thank you, Mills. I missed that one. My apologies.
All y'all's support is absolutely unbelievable, and we thank you just from everyone, especially for the as we progress with our next venture and going into traveling and everything. I'll try to do everything and make you proud of everything you've done to support this channel.
All right, and I think it is official.
All righty, guys. Thank y'all once again for coming. And if you have any tips on anything that we covered tonight, notify law enforcement. Y'all be safe out there. And I've got to look at some cases and get ready for our next show for Saturday and everything. But thank y'all for all your comments, thumbs up, sharing, everything y'all do for this channel. We're growing every day. And I am absolutely in awe of and appreciate everything that people are stepping up and doing for us. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much that as our footprint grows, that we can have a larger and greater impact on some of these cases and missing persons, and some of the people I've met out there and talk to and go on their shows and speak with. That, you know, as long as we work as a group and our footprint and we do it for the right reason, you know, the world is at our door. And so we most certainly should embrace that and try to have the best impact we can. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody, and I'll see y'all this weekend.
Thank y'all. Y'all are the best. Have a good one.